And look, the reality in this league also is that there's nothing easy about it.
All right.
Hey.
Here we are with Coach Avery on the campus of Indiana Tech for your training session this morning. You guys head to AV Alta this week.
Yeah.
How's the week been preparing for a team you've seen once before already?
Yeah, it's been a really good week of training. It's one of the things I love most about this team in particular is their energy every day they come back. Like they don't come back if we win a game, draw a game, lose a game. There's no difference in their approach to it the next day. And that makes it a lot of fun to come out to train.
Yeah. So we're sitting right here, midpoint of the season, Fort Wayne's first USL League One season. You and Ollie Gage have assembled the youngest team in the league, right? Many of them first-time professionals. Just curious, rough start to the season for 3 games, and then 11 games unbeaten. And now you're in a stretch of the season where you're playing some of the top teams, maybe for the first time, maybe for the second time. Is this where you expected to be? If you look back at the beginning of the season with a young squad, new professionals, is this where you guys expected to be, sitting in the middle of the table?
Yeah, I actually don't know. I don't think we had any idea when we came into it. You take a whole roster of players, maybe I think a handful, 3 or 4 have maybe played at a level similar or in League One themselves before. So how they acclimate to the new league, to the new demands of the league, to the training demands, who knows where you're going to end up. I think we're happy with where we're at. I think we're hungry for more. I think we're close to a lot more, actually. But I think it's gone really well from a starting point. You know, I think that's one of the things I've said it in interviews a lot lately, and I'll stick to it. But for me, we measure progress in a lot of different ways. Table is one way, but not the only way.
Sure.
And so, and we're not measuring it with the watch that I have on or even a calendar. We're measuring it with a compass. Are we going in the right direction? I think if you pull up 10,000 feet and look down, clearly we're moving in a positive direction. And that's always been the goal for this first year, is not just to launch, but to launch and get going in a good direction. And so I think overall we're quite pleased with where we are, but still as competitors hungry for more.
Yeah. What surprised you most this season with how the team's developed? Maybe it's an individual player. What's been a big surprise for you?
Well, I think it's not a surprise necessarily, but it's a pleasant surprise, I guess, if you want to put it that way, is that we have identified a group of players who are capable of playing, not just playing in the league, but playing up near the top of the league. I think on our best days, we're as good as anybody in the league. I think that in the critical moments when the games are really tight, sometimes we're learning hard lessons still. But you have to live through those in order to learn them. We can talk about it all we want. The learned experience is the one that really sticks. You have to live through it.
I got a question about that here coming up, but what's been maybe a challenge that you faced that you didn't anticipate this season?
Well, I think you guesstimate the challenge of the travel, but until you live it, it is really, really challenging. Yeah, I mean, it is, maybe I'm closer to 60 than they are to 20, and maybe that's the problem. But the reality is that it's a real thing, and there's a reason why. I mean, when we do the math on it and the data, I think less than 25% of the games are won by the visiting team across the league, and that's been a stat that's carried over from year to year to year. There's a reason for that. I've heard people say, the travel's hard, but it's not an excuse. Well, it's not an excuse, but it is a thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you go this weekend, we'll fly out of Fort Wayne. I think we'll get to the airport at 7 o'clock in the morning, fly to Chicago, have a 45-minute window to make your connection, which is tough in Chicago. You taxi for 25 minutes before you get to the gate. And then if your flight's on time, not delayed, not canceled, then you've got a 4-hour flight and you land, and you've got a 3-hour time difference. Maybe the hotel rooms are ready when you get there. They're supposed to be. They're not always. Just the kind of the rigors of travel. It's a challenge, man. And then we'll play at 8 o'clock local time on Saturday night, which is 11 o'clock our time.
Right.
And then
so your game day prep changes then with the
you're trying to just get on the local time and exist on the local time. But we manage that part okay. I'm not worried so much about the game, but we'll get back to the hotel 11:30 at night. We're on the bus at 3:30 in the morning on Sunday to get back to LAX to catch our flight home. So the impact of that, so at the very best, you're getting 3 or 4 hours of sleep.
Right.
And you'll sleep on the plane or whatever, but like really good rest. You could do it differently and fly out at noon or 2 or whatever the flights are available, but then you're not getting home until after midnight on Sunday, so that day's completely a wash too. So the perfect way to do those trips, I don't know that we've identified it yet. We've tried everything. We've practiced and then traveled on the Friday morning, practiced in market here and then traveled. We've traveled and then practiced when we got there. We've not practiced at all. Like, we're trying all of the different iterations of it to see what works best for our group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So managing, in that same vein, managing the challenges and this is the longest season I think you've coached, right?
Sure.
From March to October, hopefully November,
Yeah.
right? Longest season that many of these guys have played before. You've got the physical challenges, the bumps and bruises and all that. How do you manage the additional stress and maybe mental and emotional things that for a long season?
Yeah, I mean, I think personally, you just got to really love what you do, and so you're enjoying it. Like, even, like, it's a little bit of a myth in college soccer that the season's just 3 months. Now, it is for the competitive games, but you have kids that gone to college, went to college. Like, we're always going in college, and so right when one season ends, you're into the spring season, and there's always something going on. And so that part doesn't feel that much different to me. I actually enjoy the fact that we play week to week very often here, whereas in USL2 or in college, you're playing every 2 or 3 days. And so you don't get a lot of time to actually train.
Yeah.
Here you get into a rhythm and a routine that I think is really healthy for us. We actually maybe have an extra day off that I never had in USL2. You were just sprinting through the season. Now, like, I know we'll travel on a Sunday, we'll take the Monday off. Depending upon what kind of travel we had, we might even take the Tuesday off just to recover. And then we've got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to practice to get ready for the Saturday. And so I think the balance of it, but I think being in love with the profession is important. And then really developing an understanding of the routine. I think when you talk to anybody who's a professional athlete who is coming from in their first year, managing boredom, time off, how do you handle the details of your day when nobody's telling you what to do? Even in college, your day's managed for you, where you go to this class, this class, this class, you got a meeting, a lift, whatever. Here, you're done 1 o'clock, with our day, our work day, because we come in at 8, we train, we watch video, we do all the things that we need to do. They're done about 1 o'clock or so. What do they do?
Yeah.
Right. And so figuring out a hobby or some sort of avocation that you can enjoy that's not physically taxing. You know what I mean? It's a challenge for the young guys because like they're used to doing stuff all the time.
And they're in a new city.
Yeah. So a lot of guys they pick up. They take an online class. You continue education. You cook. Every once in a while, Javi Armas will bring in some sourdough in the morning that he made the night before. Things like that. You pick up a hobby, golfing or whatever, that's not super stressful on your body, but helps you kind of manage your time.
Yeah. Getting back to the gameplay, like in season, there's a phrase that goes around among USL League One media that this is a league of vibes and chaos, right? Just a lot of fun things happening, but it's teams that you saw once, maybe a different team, like in how they prepared, and you've seen teams at bottom of the table that are now sitting third or fourth now, just a few months in. How do you prepare as a coach how do you prepare your team for, say, an AV Alta that you've seen once, that may be a little bit more familiar with you now, a little bit more competitive? They're sitting, they're at the bottom of the table when you played, and now they're 2 places. Again, the table's not everything, but it seems to be a different team now, and so are you. How do you prepare for that week in and week out?
Well, what we do is we prepare the same way we prepare for every game. We have very detailed preparation that goes on in the front office with our staff, doing a scout of most recent games, trends, roster shifts that they maybe have, and we do the best job that we can to give the guys as much information as we can. We're pretty progressive in how we use video and analytics in our preparation compared to maybe a lot of teams, even in the league. And I think it helps our guys kind of understand that we're going to be a principle-based team. We're going to play the way that we play. We'll make slight adaptations and shifts based on the opponent, but we're not changing massively our principles.
Sure.
And so the guys have been really good at onboarding. Okay, this day our pressure, we're going to line up this way to press this player that way. Next week it'll be the other guy the other way.
Right.
You have to make little adjustments sometimes based on what you guess is going to give you the best chance to win on the night, and then they might come out and do something totally different.
Right.
So then you go on the fly. The players have to have kind of the wherewithal and the knowledge and the confidence to make adjustments as they see
Sure.
in the game.
Yeah. We talk to youth coaches all the time, and they talk about teaching players not just the tactics of the game, but be able to make decisions on
100%,
the fly.
yeah.
And so you see that at this level too. So I want to go back to something you said earlier about lessons you're learning on the road and lessons you're learning as a squad. You've come through a tough stretch with Spokane twice. You've come through one Knox. You've played. Who would just play? I'm blanking now.
Omaha.
Yeah, Omaha. I should remember that.
Yeah.
Teams that are at the top of the table.
Yeah.
It's been a tough stretch of games, but I'm sure through this, you're building some resilience and you're learning some lessons.
100%. Yeah.
What are you learning from these stretch of 4 or 5 games that are preparing you for the road ahead?
Look, the reality is that you might come at home and play a team that might be at the bottom of the table. And look, the reality in this league also is that there's nothing easy about it. Like any game is
We're
up
learning
for
that
grabs.
as fans, yeah.
Any game is up for grabs. But you might get away with some things at home against a team that's currently at the bottom of the table that kind of papers over the cracks a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you go against a team at the top of the table, you don't get away with it just as much. And so
Right.
the lessons get really pushed on you in ways that are, you give up a goal. You know what I mean? You turn
Yeah.
the ball over there, that's going to cost a goal down there. I mean, if you take the last game on Saturday, we're toe-to-toe and arguably in the first 30, 45 minutes better than Omaha. But we don't punish.
Mm-hmm.
We're not clinical enough in a critical moment. The pressure builds and builds and builds and builds. We're in the 58th minute, we miss a golden chance.
Yeah.
In the 60th minute, we miss another golden chance. And in the 61st minute, they score. Right? And so those are the differences in the margins. And now, if you take a player, it doesn't matter which player it is, one of our players, say we have a 21 or a 22-year-old player in his first year in the league who's missing that chance.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine that same player 7 years from now, having played at this level or higher, grinding the job, the profession, all that he does, still taking that chance. That's what we're playing against.
Sure.
You know what I mean? We're playing against guys 29, 30 that have been around it for 10 years
Right.
or so. And again, we are learning as we go, and I think quickly adapting. I think that you can already see the growth in a lot of players, and I'm sure that's going to continue.
Yeah, it's been the surprise of the league, to be honest. There's Alex Ashton from League One Updaters just recently wrote an article about how Fort Wayne became one of the toughest teams in the league to play.
Yeah.
And one of the hardest places to play. So talk about the home crowd, playing at the Roo,
Yeah.
at Ruoff Mortgage Stadium, what that's done for your team, for the feel of the game.
Sure, yeah. We love playing at home. I mean, it's an amazing stadium. We walk in even if we're training or if we have a match that night, and you kind of walk in and it catches your breath every time. It's such
Yeah.
a beautiful venue. And the field's perfect, and it's a good size for us, and there's no bumps to it. And, it's one of the things that's, every time you go to a new place, there's nuances about wherever you're playing. And ours might be that it's perfect. You know what I mean? Like, it's a
Right.
perfect place to play. And every time we've been going, something new in the external part
yeah.
of the stadium has come in, whether it was a scoreboard or something's done differently. And we're waiting now on the last piece of the locker rooms, which is coming pretty soon, which will be a big thing for the team.
Sure.
Won't
I'm
impact
sure
the
they
fan
will appreciate
experience,
that,
but it'll be a big thing for the team. So, we have become a hard place to play because we love playing in front, but also it's because our crowd, they're knowledgeable, they're engaged, it's growing, and so we're very, very fortunate. It's one of the things, after every game, if you ever watch after the game, there's always a couple minutes and you'll see players talking and coaches talking from other teams. It's usually pretty friendly after a game because you get to know each other. Every single game, 2, 3, 4 players from the other team kind of whisper in the ear, like, that'd be great to next year, in the future, keep me in mind, because they value where we play, the stadium. They value the crowd, the cities appreciates it. They value who we play in terms of being not just having a young guy in the team, but playing them.
Sure.
And then they really value how we play. And they, they've said it. The Omaha center back said to me after the game, it's like, this is great for American soccer, the way you guys are trying to play.
But they haven't trained in 15 degrees in February, right?
Yeah. But so again, I don't think we're closing the gap on the top teams. I don't think we're there yet, if I'm being really honest.
Sure.
And I think I said it last week, but I think the distance between where we are right now and where we want to be is really in little fine details.
Yeah. With just knowing, we've talked several times about style of play and identity and team culture and all that stuff, but as fans watching the game, what do you hope that they see in your squad on the field and off the field?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you watch us play, I hope that you sense that it's a group that really likes each other. You know what I mean? They really enjoy playing with each other. They enjoy playing for each other. They enjoy playing for the people that are there out supporting them. They're grateful, and because I think that's a culture that we really strive to create in the team, is that we are at a really interesting level, because honestly it's a developmental level, and so a player could come in with very selfish motivations, and rightly so, because they're trying to use this as a platform to get to a higher level. But we're also trying to sell them on the idea that the only way you get to the higher level is if the team is successful.
Right.
So there's a paradox there. It's like, I'm trying to do this for myself, but the only way that I do it for myself is if everybody buys into it.
Mentality.
And so it's it's an interesting dynamic and conversation all the time. It's like, okay, in the moment they think, what does this mean for me? And we're saying, wait, time out. What does this mean for the team? Because when the team is successful, everybody gets what they want. So it's an interesting dynamic, but so far the group, as I said, has been really good about onboarding that idea. The culture in the team has been really amazing. They're a joy to come to work with. And it's important because you're coming every single day together for 9 or 10 months. You better like the people that you're working with. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it's not always perfect, and there's people that push back, and sometimes I joke with the staff, it's like, playing whack-a-mole. You know what I mean? Like this problem pops up and you back it down, and then another one pops up and you back it down, and another one pops up. And that's just kind of the nature of leadership, I suppose, in any endeavor. But we also, we have a job to do, and the job is to try and put a great product on the field. But personally, I have a mission that's different than my job, and it's to connect with people and help them grow as people. That's not necessarily what I'm paid for.
Sure.
I'm paid for to try and win games, right? And so I have to keep both of those things in mind too.
100%, yeah. Been fun just observing a little bit of the training today and seeing, the camaraderie amongst the guys, but the competitiveness against them too. So they're not, nobody's giving anybody an inch out here. They're pushing. So I think that's led to the success that you've seen so far on the field and in the league. If I could ask two questions, just kind of looking ahead, what you foresee. There's, we've seen some academy players signed, and we've seen some young players out here with the squad. What do you foresee maybe as the pipeline for young players, assuming you want to keep a young team in the area? Yeah,
I think in the future, the club will probably get into the academy space more two-footed in, you know what I mean, like all in. We're not there yet, right? So we are building our stadium, we're building out the senior first team. Academy will come down the road. What that looks like, how we structure it, I think those are conversations that are still ongoing. But there is definitely going to be, one of our pillars has always been identifying local players and giving them an opportunity to see what the next level is, and then maybe if they're good enough to make it themselves there.
And that's why I asked, because I know you got Johnny I out here with you last year, and I know there's been some young players.
We've had a handful of the local guys that have come out and helped us in our training numbers. And it's been really good for them, and it's really good for us to get to know them. And there's talent in the area, and so if they can see that there is a possibility, you know what I mean, like the old saying, right? You have to see it before you can be it. You know what I mean? Like there is a real possibility.
You plant a seed, give them a vision, and
for sure. And then maybe a pathway for that to happen.
And just last question. This is, again, years down the road, potentially. The idea of promotion relegation in USL 1 has been widely talked about. I know there's conversations and votes and all that still have to happen. But what does that bring to American soccer, or take away from American soccer in your mind?
Well, I mean, obviously, I think if you're talking about just the overall growth and competitiveness of the game, it's a real factor in that. If you have to fight to stay, not just, for the top of the table, but if you're at the bottom of the table and you've got to fight just to stay up, And if you don't stay up, there's massive ramifications for everybody, not just you, but everybody around you. Cities that have ramifications because Premier League dollars don't flow up, and all the stuff that happens. It's a different way of going about your job. Like you have to stay competitive. Like you mentioned, the competitiveness of our team, that has to happen every day, every game. It doesn't matter if we get 3 games left and we're third from the bottom of the table. You got to fight because you might be going down if you're not. Some of the most exciting games in Europe are those games that are at the bottom of the table because there's everything's on the line.
Yeah.
And so I think that is a different mindset. And so how we develop young players that, first of all, have the technical foundation, because we almost have it opposite. We get, in our country, worried about winning and losing too early, and then we forget about development.
Yeah,
it's
a big conversation right now in American soccer.
Yeah, because if my 7-year-old's team doesn't win, we're trying to fire the coach and move them to another team, and the reality is they should fall in love with the game and fall in love with the ball and learn how to play, and then as they're ready and develop, then the games get more serious, but then we've given them a base from which to actually operate from.
Yeah.
So we're a little bit backwards in our country, and so how this works in USL in the promotion relegation space, and I know they're very serious about pushing it forward. I think it's going to be really interesting to watch.
Yeah. I don't know if American fans are ready for that, but
it's fun though. You fall in love with your team and you see if you can go up with them, or do you stick with them when they go down, or you know what I mean? Like there's a real love story about that, and I think maybe a documentary like Wrexham maybe helps people understand a little bit more about what it means to promote.
Sure.
So hopefully it works.
Yeah. Well, Coach, thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, of course.
Sharing with the folks of Fort Wayne
what
you're doing here.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys and everybody that comes out. So
appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.